Hey everybody, Fran Lehman here, the founder of New Life for Haiti, and I am here again with Marnie Van Wyk, my good friend, who for a number of years was the executive director of New Life for Haiti. And of course we're doing these videos because for a lot of you, we are familiar faces. Maybe you haven't seen us for a while, but back across the years, many of you knew me well and connected with me. You connected with Marnie a lot, some of you, when she was running everything with New Life for Haiti. And we just thought this would be a cool idea to kind of re-inspire our New Life for Haiti community, for us to do some videos and tell the stories. And as we tell these stories, come up into the present of kind of what's happening with the work in Haiti now. And so in the last video that we did, we just kind of touched into the beginning of the story that gave birth to the School of Hope, which, if people don't know what the School of Hope is, of course, that is, we built buildings for a lot of Haitian schools, but the School of Hope is New Life for Haiti's school. So we just began to kind of tell that story of how you took a trip to Haiti. You kind of saw what was really happening in the classrooms, and that the quality of education really needed something more. And one of the things, and I don't remember the exact order of this, so you can probably help me remember, but it seems to me like one of the initial things was the teacher training efforts. Is that right?
Yes.
So can you just talk about that, like what you began to see and how we moved toward teacher training and how that kind of evolved toward the idea of a school?
Sure. So originally, New Life for Haiti brought me on the board of directors to kind of study the situation with education in
Right.
Haiti and what we were seeing in our schools that we had built the buildings for, as you mentioned. And so I put together a kind of a steering committee or an advisory panel, I guess, of smart women who were all involved in education here in the States. And, you know, these are women with master's degrees and PhDs,
Right.
and much smarter than me. But so we studied the situation and just kind of spent some time learning about the education system in Haiti and how it was different than what we were accustomed to, which doesn't always mean
bad.
Right. So there were things that were, just like with any system or institution, there were things that were good, and there were things that there was room to grow, for sure.
So you guys kind of were getting the lay of the land.
Yes.
And then kind of what happened from there?
So eventually the board asked me to make a recommendation, and it was that moment where you think, I think we referred to this earlier in an earlier video, but where you think, do we dare? Do we dare dream of opening a brand new kind of school? And especially in a rural area of Haiti,
Yeah.
because in the rural areas, education is schools really struggle. You know,
Right.
they struggle
Right.
because they don't have
Right.
resources, and they struggle because they don't have personnel
Sometimes,
always.
and there aren't a lot of public schools out in that area, but sometimes even the state schools, like they would operate for part of the year and then shut down because the teachers weren't getting paid because the government wasn't providing, so it was just all this.
Right, and even in the state schools, children have to pay to go to
Right.
school.
Right. It's not free.
There's uniforms
Yep,
in state
yep,
schools.
yep.
There is no, we've
Yep.
talked about this many times, there is no free
Yep.
public education
Yeah.
in Haiti. So we spent some time studying that situation and eventually made the recommendation to the board or said to the board, here's an idea. Perhaps we open a brand new kind of school that has a really different model and see what happens.
Now, by the time you made that recommendation, were you already doing some teacher training, or did the teacher training kind of happen simultaneous with that?
It happened simultaneously. We opened the school, and that summer before we opened the school is when we did
first big teacher
first
training?
big teacher training. And originally we intended to train just the teachers who had been hired to work at the school, because we hired a teacher and an aide for every classroom. But word got out that we were doing training for teachers.
And teachers wanted to come.
Teachers wanted to come. And at that first training, I think we had around 40 or 50 teachers.
Yeah.
And there were 5 of us that were
Right.
leading the training.
Yeah, just it's amazing, and you know, and definitely starting the School of Hope was another one of those things that like, can we just do this? And at one point, I said to Felix, our field director, I said, Felix, is it legal for us to start a school? How do we start a school? And Felix, who seems to know everybody, knew the like Minister of Education for the province, a guy named Jean-Marcel Gentil. And so he said, let's go see Jean-Marcel. So I went to this meeting, Felix and I went to this meeting, and I asked this guy, you know, we have this idea to start a school that it would be all Haitian staff, but it would be under our organization's direction. Can we do that? How do you feel about it? And he just looked at me almost with sadness in his eyes, really. And he said, you know what education is like, especially out in the, as they say, the zone rural, in the rural areas. He said, of course, go start a school. And then the funny moment came, which was that, you might remember the story, I said to him, well, do we need to do some paperwork, fill out an application, like how do we get approved? And he said to me, just go start the school and I'll print you up a paper.
Because it's
like,
all about the paper and the seal,
right?
In Haiti,
right, it is.
Yeah.
But he just really wanted us to do it, so he was
Right.
like, "I'm making this easy
Don't
for
delay.
you. Just yeah, don't delay. Just go and do it." And so we did.
which is kind of incredible given the amount of red tape we go through here.
Right.
So it's hard for people to understand
Right.
how quickly that happened, but it happened fairly quickly.
So what were a couple of the things when you looked at doing education differently that off the top of your head you would say, we saw that we needed to do these couple of things really differently?
Well, yeah, there were so many, but I would say the ones that stand out are the class size, first of all.
Yeah.
We had decided from the very beginning we were going to limit the class size to 25 kids per classroom. We wanted the classrooms, each grade to have their own classroom, and that's how we started, and we eventually grew. But and we wanted the classrooms to be large enough for the children to get out of their seats, move around, maybe work on the floor, dance, sing, do art, all of the things.
The things kids learn with.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, and we wanted to obviously equip the teachers and the school to do those things.
Yeah.
You know, to put musical instruments
Yeah.
in classrooms and art supplies and books. You know, and books in Creole, which was another another big decision, early decision, was to have the instruction take place in Creole.
In Creole.
Because in Haiti, instruction takes place in French.
Right.
And a lot of people in the rural areas aren't fluent in French.
Right.
They've never spoken it
Right.
even. So you can imagine trying to learn to read and write
They're
in a
going to school
language-
not really in their native tongue.
Right, exactly. So we wanted to start, especially in the lower grades, K1 and 2, with the instruction being all in Creole, so that kids can learn to speak and write and read in their
Right.
own language first.
Right.
And then they started French, because it's important to learn
Yeah,
French,
yeah, yeah.
because most of the business in Haiti
Right,
takes place
right,
in French,
right.
the street signs,
Right.
etc.
Right. There's a lot of cultures like that where really there's a kind of common language and an official language, and and not to interrupt you again, but you talked about class size, and I don't know if everybody realizes what a deal that is in Haiti. I once saw in a state school a first grade classroom with all these kids crammed in a fairly small classroom. Again, no books, not enough places for kids to sit, kids standing, kids sitting in the window openings. It was a first grade classroom, and I counted 88 students with one teacher and no assistant.
Can you
That-
even imagine?
And that's the
Almost
kind of stuff that
100
we saw. It was
kids.
common, and that was extreme, but we commonly saw classes with 50 or 60 kids. And one teacher, and no assistant, and no resources.
Yes.
And that was the kind of stuff that made you go,
Maybe there's another way.
maybe there's another way.
Yeah, so those were some of the early decisions, and then in addition to that, as you've alluded to, the teacher training and
Yeah.
and just sharing really ideas for how to make the instruction more interactive.
Right.
And get kids to talk to each other while they're learning, because
Yeah.
that's an important part of learning is processing and conversing and all the things that and this was another very important one. I feel like I keep saying and this,
Yeah.
but the fact that kids learn differently you learn
Right.
differently than I do.
Right.
And some people are visual learners, some people are auditory learners, some people have to learn by doing
Yeah.
things. So Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence
Yeah.
says that people are
Yeah.
smart in different
Yep,
ways,
right.
and therefore they learn in different
Yeah,
ways.
right.
So we did a lot of hands-on activities with the teachers during training. We wanted to train them using the same methods that we wanted them to use in the classroom,
Yeah.
so they could see those methods in action,
Right.
come
right,
to life in a classroom
Yeah.
setting.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, it was. I know you were at first maybe a little nervous to like tell me what you really thought, because I was excited that we were building buildings for these Haitian churches. But to me, it was so inspiring when you got this group of people together and you guys started to really engage the questions, and we moved toward doing something better. Because I have always been a big proponent of keep adapting what you're doing. If you see better ways to do what you're doing, don't be afraid to change. Don't be afraid to go to the next thing. Go ahead.
And I think New Life for Haiti has very much done that throughout the years.
Yeah.
And we talked about this in an earlier video about seeing the need.
Yeah.
And the Lord opening the
Yep,
door to that,
yep.
and just walking through that. And that doesn't
Yeah.
mean that it was easy.
No.
But that really is how the ministry grew.
Yeah.
To encompass so many
Yeah.
different types of things,
Right.
because the needs are so great and so varied, and as they arose, we tried to step up to meet them in whatever ways
Yeah.
we could with the resources that we have.
Yeah, and I've heard people use the phrase like organizational agility, right? And that's kind of what you have to be willing to embrace,
Very much so.
So one story I wanted to tell, which you'll probably remember parts of this story that we haven't talked about it, I think, in years, was once we decided to start a new school, one of the huge questions was where?
Yes.
Where do we start this school?
Yes, and that was a very heavily debated
Oh,
topic.
yes. And Felix and I don't know if you were on any of those trips because it all runs together in my head, but Felix and I went around to all these different places, mostly on the road side of the river, like the well-traveled side of the river, the easily accessible side of the river, to look at different villages and different places. But so Lynn and I had sponsored a little girl, still do, who lived up in the mountains on the other side of the river. And we would walk her to the base of the mountains when she would go home. So we would go through the river and we would go through this valley. And then we'd come to the base of the mountains and we'd give her a kiss and a hug and she'd go home. She was getting up into her teen years by that time. Her name's Marilene, still a sweet girl. And I kept thinking about that valley and how I didn't see any schools over there. And I said to Felix, I really want to go look at that valley. And Felix was like, it's on the other side of the river, So we went over there one day and we were trying to be incognito, like looking at empty pieces of land. There weren't any for sale signs, but the idea was you would find who owned it and maybe figure out if you could buy it, right?
Right.
So we're looking around at this land and people are kind of watching us, and they finally said to us, what are you guys doing? And we were like, nothing. And they said, no, you're doing something. What are you looking for? And so I said, okay, I'll tell you. And by this time we had 20 people from the community around us. And I said, well, we're looking for a place to build a school and we're not sure where. We're looking for a place that has a lot of need, blah, blah, blah. And as we're having this conversation, the group is growing.
I can imagine.
And this old man who's lived over there all his life steps up, no malice, but kind of puts his finger in my face and he says, you have to build this school here for our children. And I said, Pukisa, why? And he said, because we don't have a school, and when the river is high, our kids can't cross the river, and then they miss school, and then they have to do the same grade over again, and they can't ever finish school. Kids here don't finish school. You have to build this school here. So I said, okay, everybody come back at 5 o'clock tomorrow, and we'll have a community meeting about it. And that was the end. I was so convinced, and Felix looked at me and he said, yeah, this is the place, and it is. It's hard to get to. There's no bridge you can drive a truck over. You have to drive the truck through the river or walk across that sway bridge, And you and I have taken trips where we literally slogged through the mud to get to the School of Hope.
Yes.
Like the mud that pulls your shoes off when you try to get out of it.
Yeah. We clean up pretty well,
Yeah.
but But at that particular time that you're referring to, it was mud to your knees and
Yeah.
and wading through the river up to your waist. And I remember a young man carrying my backpack and standing on the current side of the river because the current was so strong. And I held on to him for dear life crossing that river, just to get to a meeting.
Just to get to a meeting
Just
with
to
parents.
get to a meeting, and that wasn't a school day, you know.
Yeah.
And I was a grown woman, you know.
Right.
You can imagine a child trying to cross,
Yeah.
doing the opposite crossing to get into town to
And
go
you
to
know,
school.
when I think back about all that, it isn't just you and me, it's all the other Americans we've taken down there. It's our teachers to this day at the School of Hope who mostly live actually on the other side of the river, and they cross that river every day.
They do.
Sometimes they walk through a river up to their neck so they can go and teach those kids.
Yes.
You know, and the kids come down out of the mountains,
Yes.
some of them traveling a pretty good distance to get to the School of Hope. It is just,
Well, and then after we built the school, we noticed that families started moving
yeah.
to that community.
Right.
Specifically so that their child could
go to
the
that school.
So that was something
Yeah.
we didn't anticipate.
And you know, another thing we didn't talk about, and I know you remember this, is when we were, one of the things we did was we had the guys go out and kind of survey the people in that area about like literacy rate and their dreams for their kids and all these different things. And we figured out that the adult literacy rate was somewhere around like 3%. Like, and a lot of the parents said their dream for their child was that they could write their name. Like, these are families never, you know, parents couldn't read, kids didn't have, you know, it just,
I remember hearing that statistic too and being shocked by that. And I guess knowing what that area is like, you know, just people living in grass huts with dirt floors and
With a little
no
garden
running
outside
water,
the hut.
no
Yeah,
electricity,
yeah.
none of that, no technology. And being basically sustenance,
right.
growing things for sustenance. I remember hearing that and thinking about the impact that we could have if we just simply could start a generation of
Right.
readers.
Right.
And in fact, as our kids at the school, we would print some real simple books for them to take home. As they started going home and reading at home out loud to their parents, some of the parents started picking things up.
Right.
And the kids were excited to teach
Yeah.
their parents some simple, you know,
Yeah.
vowel sounds. And
Right.
reading is one of those things where if you're motivated and you have some tools, you know, especially adults, you know, that opened a whole new path.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I believe in the power of that to change literacy, to change the trajectory for some families in that community, opening that door.
And lots of studies have shown that it is literacy, and interestingly enough, particularly the literacy of girls, that lifts cultures. And so it's just a huge, you know, just this conversation went so fast and we're like out of time, but it's just so exciting to me to remember these stories and the things that happened. And, you know, and eventually we'll talk about this again in one of these episodes, but eventually we also started the Village of Hope, which is our home for children with broken family backgrounds and situations. And
a school there too.
And a school there too. And, you know, just one of the things one of the slogans New Life for Haiti has had over the years is, you can wish the world was a better place, or you can pick one place in the world and make it better. And that's what we've tried to do, and it's been amazing. And we're glad all of you have been along for the journey and are along for the journey. So when you see the next one of these pop up, join us and take this whole journey with us. Thanks for watching.